Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bracha Kadash, and double honors to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to your Lord's elect, the house of David. Right, so Brother Aharon, coming back at you with another lesson, and Lord willing to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, now just meditating this morning on a video I was watching this morning, actually, by the elder Apostle Har, and it was a response or slash land backing off of the elder Karatazar from Vegas, and I believe it was going into Isaiah 4:1 and the reality setting in and how it's hitting these women. All right, and it's funny because this is like it's almost like nothing is happening yet, but yet you already have women seeking some form of reprieve, of course, from men. Your women don't know how to drive, bro. Anyway, they're seeking some form of security and reprieve from men. And you notice the trend is mostly so-called white women, but the black women, so-called black women in the northern kingdom, northern tribes, they're still stuck on arrogant. All right, for the most part, they're still stuck on arrogant. And it seems like they forgot that they're the ones who pushed men to reject them. Right, because you had this whole thing with the Me Too movement a few years back, right? You had all this "I don't need a man" spirit. You had this whole hot girl summer thing. It's just promoting all this madness of women, just women empowerment, women entitlement, all that shit. And what it did was it made these women, all right, these deplorable demons, all right, think that they were on a higher level. But the reality is exposing that was just a facade. That was a charade. That was just something Esau put up there as a false sense of security, that you have some form of power. When society is peaceful, that's when you can say what you're saying. That's when you can do what you're doing. That's when you can go where you want to go, and talk your shit and all that. Disrespect men, all right, that you don't even know, right? All because you think you have some form of social media influence or whatever, which is all madness, right? Because in real life, I always say this, you could have the finest chick on social media look like she's on a whole nother level, and then you let her step outside and not even one man is going to say something to her. She doesn't even get acknowledged, not once. All right. And even if she does, it's all a whole bunch of catcalling, Hey, what's up, shorty? How you doing, shorty? That kind of thing. That's all she's going to get. She's not going to get that, oh, you beautiful, and hey, let me get your number. And no, those days are gone. Because men feel like, oh, if I do that, you're going to think I'm harassing you. So they just leave them alone. I just saw an article of some chick that she offed herself. She unalived herself because of social media. I think it was like hacked or something happened, and because of that, she was so messed up about the whole situation that she unalived herself, man, because she lived for social media. Okay, and there's a lot of women who have that mindset of living for social media. They don't live for real life. They don't actually live. They do things to post it on social media, and that's their life, right? Posting the fake shit that they do for the clicks, the likes, the comments, the shares, the views, right? So imagine when all these things go away. Number one, the things that you do that you can post has been stripped away from you because reality has set in, right? And then the platforms on which you want to post all these things, as a change there. Okay, now what? What I'm saying? So now you notice that a lot of these women are worthless. All right, they don't really bring any value. They say, oh, what do you bring to the table? And they always say, I am the table. Well, the time is coming where if you don't have any type of talent or additional skills, in terms of survival, you're not smart, you're not quick, you're not witty, you don't know how to cook, you don't know how to, make a garden, you're gonna be asked out. All right, because it's not just gonna be about your beauty. Your beauty is going to take you as far as getting raped, by a whole bunch of men. That's about it. What I'm saying? But your feminine, weak nature, all right, is going to be exploited by a whole lot of crazy ass men out here. That's why Isaiah 4:1, all right, is going to kick in very, very soon. All right. You got the economy looking crazy right now because of Trump's so-called tariffs, which is all done by design to bring down this whole system to make it make sense, right? Because the system was already down, but they had to mask it and give it that final blow. You know what I mean? By saying, oh well, the tariffs is what's causing all this. Nah, this thing has been going on for years. All right, but now it's like, all right, people God damn. See, but now people are seeing it, so they had to, mask it by giving them something obvious where you can't debate it. Oh, well, it's a tariffs. We all go through it. That's why. That's a clever way to go about things. Meanwhile, they're changing everything. He signs this $500 billion Stargate thing. Basically switching everything over into digital, and that's leading into the MOTB because there's something called the Smith Act. All right, Lord willing, I'll go a little bit more in depth into that later on. All right, but I'm still gathering some information on it and making some connections. But there's the Smith Act, which basically required that all citizens will have to be put on the registry. Okay, so that's another avenue that Esau has already established to bring in the MOTB. Every man, woman, and child must be, registered digitally. You have Trump saying the whole the biometric entry-exit system, and we need it desperately. Yeah. So, we at that time where you're gonna start. He's gonna start showing. All right, that hey, we at that time. Hey, let's start making a move. There's gonna be department after department, and then soon it's gonna spread over to the essential workers, and then eventually it's gonna get to the private corporations. They're gonna be internet. They're gonna be first in on it. The private corporations, because they're all partnered with the government and stuff, right? Through the private public partnership. Okay, so you're gonna see a lot of these corporations start to implement a lot of this digital identification, which is going to affect jobs, all across the board. Okay, and if you're not in compliance with it, then of course you're gonna be off the grid. In other words, you can't work, you can't do anything, you can't buy or sell, obviously, right? So the stores that you're gonna be buying from, they're working with the same companies or corporations that you're gonna work with, right? So if you're gonna go to a Walmart, guess what? The owner of Walmart or the people who run Walmart, they're in league with, the DOD or the DHS and stuff like that. So when these departments start coming up with these new laws, all right, these acts that become law eventually, okay, you're gonna see it's gonna affect everyone all across the board. All right, transportation, all right, food, medical, you name it, it's all gonna be affected by it. And that's when at that time shall women cleave onto 7 women cleave onto 1 man. Because it's all anarchy, like as the apostle was going into a state of without law. Okay, and like I said, women only have power when there's law, when you have law enforcement, so to speak, when they can just pick up the phone and call the police, right? Even when they're wrong, women get into fights, right? Domestic so-called fights and shit, and they're the ones who instigate it. They're the ones beating up the man, but then they call the cops, and then the cop come in and take the man away like he's the one who's at fault. Meanwhile, he didn't even do anything. Especially if you're a so-called black man, it's over with. All right. So all these men, they're gonna take revenge. Okay, they're gonna be taking revenge, man. They're gonna be seeking a lot of you women's lives. Okay, to unalive you. All right, because they've been waiting in the cut for a minute for this moment. Right, and nobody's gonna be there to save you. All right, no man is gonna come out of his place, out of his pocket to save a woman that he don't know. Nah, because times are hard. He don't even want you even for sex because times are hard. He's thinking about food. Remember, when you're in that type of state, sex is the last thing you're really thinking about. When you go back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, your first move, all right, in a time of stress is to find food, and water. That's basic survival needs. Then after that you move on to, the shelter and so on and so forth. And then after that you move on to companionship and stuff like that. So when everything is being stripped down to the basic, which is survival needs, which is food and water, right? Hence the tariffs, which is going to lead to a famine, which is also going to enable the pestilence that's going to come in soon. That's going to come in very soon. Pestilences, right? As it's written, okay? Famines, pestilences, all right? riots. You know what I'm saying? People gonna be on the live like crazy. You know what I mean? So you put all that together. All right, these women are going to be looking for strong men to protect them from all this. All right, to give them some form of a way out. You know, because the system is broken down. So now they're gonna look for another way of survival: the food, the water, right? So they're gonna be giving their bodies out for that kind of security. You know what I'm saying? You trust me. You gonna listen. You're gonna see women giving themselves out for protection, for food. You know what I'm saying? Legit. That's how it's gonna be. You know, that's how it's gonna be. You know, and guess who? What kind of man they're gonna be looking for the most? An Israelite man in his right mind, meaning one of the prophets. Okay, because they know we said these things were gonna happen. So shit, if they were saying this for years, that means they must be prepared. They must know something that we don't know, right? They must have some form of backing that we don't have, that the ordinary man doesn't have, right? For them to still live in this crazy, chaotic world with such confidence and no fear, they must have something else that's backing them that's not of this world. You know, and women can sense that. You know, they can sense it. They know when a man is secure. They know that. They know. They can sense it. They know. All right. Especially you pop out and you got like 4 or 5 women following you and shit. Boy, look at here. Without even knowing why they're following you, all they know is, there's a man over there with 4 women. I'm joining in. We're gonna be the ones to say, no. There's no space. Clearly, you can see there ain't no more seats here. Right? There's no more seats. We don't got no more resources to feed another additional mouth. What can you do? You just following us just so you can eat? What can you do? Huh? Can you swing a baseball bat in case something happens? Or you gonna be like, oh my God, that type of female shit? You know, I'm scared, I'm this, I'm that. Nah, we don't need no scary shit over here. All right, now the time has come. You got to stand up and be strong and independent. You know, you got to kick in your strong and independent. Your so-called strong and independent nature. You got to kick that into gear. You know, see, reality dictates actions. Okay, so they could talk all the talk. You know what I'm saying? But when the time comes, they're not going to be able to walk the walk. All right, and that's when you're going to see the judgment raining upon these women with no problem. Ezekiel 9:4. All right, the women, the children, everyone who's been disobedient. All right, to the warnings from Yahweh Bashmi Shai via his prophets, starting from my elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down, you're gonna get your judgment. All right, you're gonna get your judgment, and it's not gonna be pretty. Okay, it's not gonna be pretty, man. All right, but let me get this real quick. I'm trying to. Service here is kind of terrible. Damn. It's like it. Bear me 1 second here. Behind the wheel. But I'm gonna just quote it. All right, Isaiah 4:1. All right, it says, and in that day shall 7 women, all right, take hold of 1 man, saying that what we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Okay. So, what's gonna dictate that? Everything that we just mentioned. All right, that's what's gonna be the driving force for women to behave that way. All right, when there's no electricity, all right, everything is uncertain, right? Fear cometh from every side. You got people getting murked every day, and it's being posted on social media. You know, neighborhoods that used to be safe are no longer safe. Yeah, that's when the thinking will kick in. You know, the thoughts of, oh my God, what's gonna happen? That's all gonna kick in, man. You know, the uncertainty, the doubt, the fear. You know, you got Trump being a dictator on top of that. You know what I'm saying? Yo, it's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be pretty, man. And it's all coming full circle. Dwadi Yabashimi Al Shai. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it off there. Lord willing, you're edified and informed. Lord willing, I'll come back with a lesson on the Smith Act. All right, and delve a little bit into it. Tied into what's going on now. As they set the stage, going into the word poeo to bring in this MOTB system. All right, so it's happening on a daily basis. You see all this thing going on every day, every single day, man. All right, so we're gonna stay in tune, and Lord willing, I'll come back at it with that lesson. All right, so shalom, Yahweh Shemiah Brakatam. Shalom to the elect.